do. We have to.
Whoops.
Oh, you record?
We are recording.
Woo!
Happy Let's
I'm not
Talk
gonna stand
About
up
It
then.
Tuesday.
Boom. You ready to rock and roll?
I am.
You ready for this, actually? Okay.
Yes. Hi, I'm Georgette. I'm the mom.
I'm TJ. I'm the son.
And we both work and study in the field of psychology, and we are passionate about sharing what we know with you so that you can live your best life.
I know. I figured it'd be memorized by now.
It is. I really don't look at my notes for that part anymore. So today we're going to talk about change again.
Change part 2.
Last time we talked about change overall. This time we're going to talk specifically about how it relates to your environment. Many changes require a person-environment interaction. Even small things like getting a new cell phone requires us to interact with something in our environment. And so one approach psychologists look to study that person-environment interaction is called the competence and environmental press model. So environmental press are those changes, even like small changes like getting a new cell phone, where people look at the physical, interpersonal, or social demands that change puts on us, right? That's the press. It's almost like the stress that's caused by the change. And so when we think about getting a new cell phone, while there may not be any physical demands, unless the size of the phone changes a lot, there are other changes like some interpersonal demands that might be related to your personality. So I'm slightly neurotic. So having to change and relearn something stresses me out a little bit. I like that instant being able to do something, and it frustrates me when I can't. There are also like some social demands, even getting like a cell phone that might be related to the decision-making process. A lot of people make fun of me because I have an Android still. So there's that like social pressure. I love my Android.
It's atrocious.
So every change, small or large, is going to impact that stress and environmental press, we call it, on our environment.
Everything that happens warrants some type of change.
Yeah.
Every stimuli introduced has the possibility of new short-term retention affecting long-term overall core beliefs towards stimuli and yourself. Can I get an amen?
Amen. Competence is the other side of that. So we have this environmental press that's put on you by this change, but then you have this competence that hopefully supports that stress. So competence is that upper limit of your ability to function in that physical, sensory perceptual area, the motor skills, cognitive skills, and ego strength domain. Those are all things that help you, manage the change well. So physical health, again, when you talk about a cell phone, probably not something that you have to deal with.
Well, probably is. You can get better apps for your physical health with a new phone. You can do a lot more things with your phone that could be closer to a physical activity.
Reminders.
Just having it in general can make it better for you to communicate with others, and those others may want you to do more impactful behavioral type stuff like working out, fitness, etc. So who knows?
In terms of sensory perceptual
It's up to us to find some way to make it competent.
Yeah, to increase that competence. And sometimes that's just like being mindful about what impact that change has on you. So in terms of sensory perceptual skills, those skills allow you to help with the cell phone as an example, where new functionality might exist, right? And how to respond to it.
Or playing games that help with that skill set in itself.
Right. Motor skills may be an issue if like you're changing like how you enter information, like a touch screen versus non-touch screen, big buttons versus small buttons. That might be a motor skill area. Cognitive skills, your ability to relearn. Also your personality, that falls under cognitive skills in terms of just being open to change. And then ego strength, I think, is one of the biggest in terms of making you resilient, helping you to be resilient and to manage change well. So we've got environmental press and competence, those two things. Environmental press, again, is that the pressure or stress that change puts on. As competence is our ability to deal with it. So what happens between those two things, we can often be put in a zone, either a zone of maximum comfort or a zone of maximum performance, depending on how much environmental press we have. So I'm a person who I tend to be kind of competitive in some areas of my life, and I love to learn and I love to grow. So I like to have my environmental press be a little higher so that I'm pushed out of my comfort zone zone a lot, right? But there are other areas of my life, like a new cell phone, where I want to be in the zone of maximum comfort. I don't care if I learn. I don't care if I,
You want simple.
Yeah,
You
I
have
just
no
want
purpose
simple.
and desire to make it to this next level.
Right. So we
This
could be
particular
in
field.
different zones depending on our personality, depends on our motivations, depending on our interests. But anytime that you're faced with a change that you think might be intimidating, I think it's important to think about the environmental press that's put on you and your competence to handle it. And you can make changes. You can actually increase your competence to help you manage that change successfully, which I think is actually pretty cool.
Practicing these new thoughts, practicing these better responses to some of these automatic thoughts that we're getting from more worried subconscious and more danger-filled subconscious. So yeah,
you have that power to make a change successful and not let it get to you or stress you out. So let's break down competence. So in terms of competence, you can increase your physical health, right? Good diet, cardio, strength training.
Hells yeah.
Yeah.
Yoga, Pilates.
Yes. Sensory perceptual skills. You have control over that too. You can learn to practice some mindfulness. Teacher is always talking about going into a room and using your senses, right? Identifying those things, practice gratefulness too. Look at those things around you. Even those small things that we take for granted are things that we should enjoy.
Every time you enter a new room, try to find 5 or 10 things that you're grateful for.
Right. That will help with your sensory perception skills, right? Because those are things you're noticing.
And then playing games like Sudoku, word searches, Lumosity. Come on. Yes, there's always things that you can do that.
Right. Motor skills, you can increase your competence in terms of your motor skills. Exercise again.
Body-mind connection.
Yep. Cognitive skills, definitely. That's probably one of the most straightforward. Well, exercise is pretty straightforward too, but cognitive skills, gain knowledge.
Gain knowledge and actually being able to utilize it over some of the more emotional pathways that you've already created.
Right. Even just sitting back and assessing the change in the environmental press that's put on you is using your cognitive skills. Maybe you can't change things right away. Maybe the change happened too fast, but you can acknowledge what's happening at the moment so that you can empower yourself, right?
Forgiving ourselves immediately, introducing that into the thought processes and letting that just kind of marinate. Like, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I forgive myself.
Having empathy.
Forgive that other person. Forgive that other person, because that's not something that's going to automatically be filling your head as that survival mode is going and it's floating, it's pumping. It's going to put a lot of unhelpful thoughts in your head. So you got to hit it consciously with the opposite direction.
We talk a lot about being a friend to ourselves. This is where you do that. Yeah. And then ego strength. We're going to break down ego strength a little bit more. And we've talked about that in prior podcasts, but ego strength, one of the ways to build it would be to accept yourself for who you are right now.
Boom.
Right.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah. Adjust your expectations, make them realistic. Be the best version of you, not what you're looking at around you.
Better than you were yesterday, yo.
Right. Use your strengths, identify them, use them, and then build on them.
Consciously shine light on them, as the brain will not automatically do so for you.
Right. Be open-minded, specifically as it relates to change. Change is a good thing.
Change is needed. We need to consciously welcome it in, but we have to consciously go in there aware with some artillery that we can utilize to combat against some of those thoughts that are going to come from unhelpful emotions like fear and, XYZ.
Even if you don't recognize any benefit from the change, I think at the very least, you're growing personally. Think of that as the benefit.
Well, as your fear setting, it's always like, well, what's the very least that you could say? Never wondering what if. Courage, I did the damn thing.
Be optimistic, plan for success.
Yeah. Being realistic in it, but identifying that once again, it's going to be easier for you to see some of the more unhelpful conclusions. You got to shine light on the helpful conclusions. It's possible. You can do it. XYZ, whatever.
And then emotionally regulate. Do positive reappraisals to help manage your stress.
Yeah. Talk to yourself. Talk yourself up. Talk yourself down.
So this week, think about the changes in your life and evaluate the stress or the environmental press that's put on you and your level of competence. And think about ways you can increase your competence to meet the stress of the change. Remember to have patience with yourself and see the change as an opportunity for growth. Have a great
Boom.
week. We will see you next Let's Talk About It Tuesday.